What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. Alright soldiers, so I know today is the day that the set comes out, so I'm just going to be releasing the rest of the reveals here, just so we know what the rest of the cards are going to look like. We're not going to thoroughly break down every single card and everything like that, but we're definitely going to see what the rest of the Forestraft cards are going to be for set 11, so I myself know what I'm going to be expecting for the set, and then you, as you know, some consumers, are going to know what's going to be happening in set 11 as well. Alright, so looking at our first card, we have Lox's Homestead Pioneer, so he's a 4-cost 4/4. You can evolve for 1 and 3 times on each of your turns, and when you play an amulet, you can recover 1 play point. You can also activate to engage 3 amulets on your field, and you can draw a card. Alright, so traditionally, Forestraft is going to want to play multiple things in 1 turn, so being able to spend 4 for this, and every time you play an amulet, you're going to be recovering a maximum of at least 3 play points for each amulet that you play this turn, so getting to that combo 3 isn't going to be very hard. And then of course we have this amazing activate ability, because you don't have to engage the amulets to go ahead and get their effects. You just need to go ahead and put them into your cemetery by burying them, and you can go ahead and just engage them with this activate on Loxus to go ahead and draw a card for playing those cards that you did play, and then you get those effects by just going ahead and putting those cards into the cemetery from their separate effects, of course. Alright, and looking at the Homestead Pioneer Evolve, so he turns into a 5/5, and once on each of your turns when a mount card leaves your field, you may put a Dutiful Steed, Bullet Bike, and an Arcane Personal Carrier token into your EX area. You can give your leader +2 defense, and you can also activate to banish 3 amulets on your field. You can choose one of the following. You can either 1, select any fallen on the field and destroy it, or 2, select another fallen on the field and give it +3/+3. So essentially, for those amulets you did play to get those 3 play points back to go ahead and evolving into the Loxus, you can go ahead and using this activate ability by getting rid of those 3 amulets by choosing one of the abilities to get some hard removal or to buff a follower on field. And then with this cool evolve on the once per turn, that when you get rid of the amulet, you can go ahead and fill up on everything in your EX area. Alright, so let's look at the Dutiful Steed, because that's one of the tokens you will be playing. It's the 1-cost amulet. You can activate to bear this card to select a follower in the field, and it's a wasteland follower. You can give it +1/+1. And looking at the Bullet Bite token, it's a 1-cost amulet. You can activate to bury this card to select a follower in the field and giving it rush, and then if it's a wasteland follower, you can give it +1 attack. Right, and lastly, we have the Arcane Personal Carrier, which is a 1-cost amulet to activate by burying this card to select a follower on the field and give it ward, and if it's a wasteland follower, you can give it +1 defense. So being able to spawn all these amulets into the EX area just by getting rid of 1 amulet that you probably played from the early on game, and mind you, Loxus is all of those things. It's a wasteland follower, so it's able to get all of those things, but you're going to want to use by getting rid of this in his activate ability by either being able to buff up a follower or having some hard removal. Alright, next up we have Shamu and Shama, Posh Feline. So they are a 1-cost 1/1. They have Storm, and they also have a strike ability for combo 3 to give this follower +1/+1. They also have a fanfare ability to select an enemy from the field, and if you have combo 5, you can deal it 3 damage. So mind you, these are hunter/beast cards, so these are going to be pretty perspective for their decks. The beast deck definitely wants to be swinging with a whole bunch and then buffing their beast followers if they have it. So I think the combo is you play this for 1, and then you keep playing the owl, and then you just keep buffing up this girl. She has Storm, so she's going to be really big. The owl is going to definitely ramp up your combo, so you're definitely going to get the combo 3 easily to turn this into like a 4/4 Storm in 1 turn. And just like its hunter sub-archetype, it actually will apply some good pressure in that deck as well. Alright, next up we have Terraformer, so it's a 6-cost 0/4. You can evolve for 1, and you can also activate for 2 play points to put this card from your hand into your EX area. Then you put the top card of your deck into your EX area. You can also activate by banishing 2 cards in your EX area. You can give this card in your EX area +2 attack and draw a card. You can activate only once per turn. Alright, so what I'm understanding here for the Terraformer, you spend 2 play points to go ahead and get this card and another card into your EX area, and progressively in the game, you're going to, constantly give this +2 attack by getting rid of 2 cards in your EX area, not being Terraformer, of course, while also drawing a card, which is pretty cool. So I think this card is going to progressively get bigger to be a really big follower in the late game. Alright, so looking at the Terraformer Evolve, so it's still a 0/6, but it has Storm, and on Evolve, you can select an enemy follower on the field and deal damage equal to its follower's attack. Alright, so like I said, you're going to progressively get this follower really big, and the biggest that it can get. When you do evolve it, it's going to have that Storm while also pinging a follower for whatever this follower's attack is, and you're going to swing for big damage that turn. Alrighty, next up we have Giant Pasture, so it's a 6-cost 5/6. When it comes to the play fanfare, you put a Bullet Bike and an Arcane Personal Carrier token into your EX area. You can deal X damage to each enemy leader and enemy follower on the field. X equals the number of mount cards in your EX area. Alright, so what I'm seeing here is we spend a total of 6 to at least do at least 2 damage to the enemy leader and 2 to a follower on field, but of course, you know, in the late game, we're probably going to have a full EX area. So having a full EX area is going to mean we're going to be dealing 5 to face and 5 to a follower. Alright, next up we have Fairy Flowering, so it's a 2-cost spell, and when playing this card, you can bury 4 pixie tokens as an additional cost. This card can't be played without paying this additional cost. You can search your deck for an Aria, Fairy Princess, and summon it, and then shuffle your deck. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie, I might cook with a little bit of an Aria Fairy Princess deck, just because I personally do like that card. That was a pretty cool card just to fill up your entire EX area and your field with fairies. And then they have that rush, and then Aria Fairy Princess having ward is pretty cool too. I think that paired up with the 2-cost amulet, that whenever a fairy token comes into the field, they have like, they get +1/+1, and then I think they have a sail. So I think that's gonna be a pretty good combo. Alrighty, next up we have Varmint Hunter, so he's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve him for 1, and during your turn, whenever a mount card is put into your EX area, you can select the enemy following the field and deal it 3 damage. I do like how progressively Forestraft is getting, because it's not saying, hey, when a mount card is played on the field, when it's put into the EX area, which is what most of our cards are going to be doing. So being able to put a mount into our EX area and then dealing a follower 3 damage is pretty good. Alright, so looking at Varmint Hunter Evolve, so he turns to a 4/4, and he still has that ability of during your turn, when a mount card is put into your EX area, you can select a follower and deal it 3 damage. But on Evolve, you can put a Dutiful Steed token into your EX area. So on his own Evo, of course, he's going to proc his ability to at least deal 3 damage to something on field, while also being able to rush with the 4/4. Alrighty, next up we have String Master, so he's a 1-cost 1/1, and once on each of your turns, when a puppet is put onto your field, put 2 puppets tokens into your EX area. You can also activate for 4 play points to give this follower +2/+2, and then you can summon a puppet token. So I'm not gonna lie, this is going to be snapped on turn 2. So turn 1 you play String Master. If your opponent doesn't deal with this, you can go ahead and play Junk, then play the puppet. You can go ahead and get 2 more puppets into your EX area, and then in the later turns you can turn this into a 3/3 while also summoning a puppet to proc his own ability. Alright, next up we have Corrosive Thorn, so it's a 2-cost spell. You can select any number of pixie tokens on your field. For the rest of this turn, you can give them Activate Engage this card. You can select the enemy following the field and deal it 3 damage and 1 damage to its leader. Alright, so essentially we got Avania, the 2-cost follower that whenever you sacrifice a bat, you can deal 3 damage to a follower and 1 to enemy leader, which in the form of a spell card for pixie tokens. So as long as we have pixies on the field, we can go ahead and engage them, and then being able to deal 3 damage to a follower and 1 to its leader is pretty helpful, because when we do summon out the pixie tokens, it is kind of weird, because we are spending those play points to play them, and then they can't swing for a turn. So being able to engage them to deal 3 damage to followers in like the mid game is pretty good. Alright, then we have Lookout Elf, so she's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve her for 1, but when she comes into play, look at the top card of your deck. You may put it onto the bottom of your deck, and then you put 2 fairy tokens into your EX area. Alright, so essentially for 3, we're able to look at the top card of our deck, and then if we want it to go onto the bottom, we can, because we may, but if it's a really good card and we do want to draw it, we can just keep it there. And then on turn 3, we can go ahead and put 2 fairy tokens into our EX area. Alright, looking at the Lookout Elf Evolve, so she turns into a 4/4, but on Evolve, you summon 2 fairy tokens. Alright, so a lot of value here on early as turn 3, because I think the one thing that is pretty hard for the fairy deck is that we do put those fairy tokens into our EX area. So building a big board of like 6 damage at least, well, just 6 stats in total on like turn 4 is pretty good. Alrighty, next up we have Cactus Cowboy, so it's a 1-cost 1/1. When it comes into play, Fanfare, you put a Dutiful Steed token into your EX area, and then last words, you can select the enemy following the field, and if there are at least 3 Wasteland cards in your field or in your EX area, you can deal it 3 damage. Alright, so this is probably the optimal card you're going to want to play with Varmint Hunter, because you're going to be able to deal a total of 3 damage just for putting the steed into your EX area. And then whenever we deal with this cowboy, because of course we don't want to constantly take 1 damage every turn, as long as you have those 3 Wasteland cards in your EX area and or in your field, you're able to deal 3 damage to some follower. Alrighty, next up we have Nature's Warden, so it's a 4-cost 4/5. It has Ward, and when it comes into play, you search your deck for a follower with Ward and reveal it and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. And then for an extra 5 play points Fanfare, you may summon a follower with Ward from your hand. Alright, so I think this is the way to really cheat out Forest Oracle Pascal. I think that's the best card to really search this card out with, just because it's like that big follower and you don't want to spend a total of 7 just to get 1 card out and then buff and then get some heal back. So I think Nature's Warden is going to let you play 2 wards, and I think the best ward to play is the Forest Oracle Pascal. So being able to play Pascal here and then buffing the Warden and Pascal while also healing you 4 is pretty good for a total of 9 play points, I think. Alrighty, next up we have Hornet Strike. So it's a 2-cost spell. You can select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 3 damage. And if you have combo 3, you can deal it 5 instead. Alright, so no, the insect deck, or at least the low to the ground deck, is going to play a whole bunch of insects constantly. I don't think there is a card yet in Forestraft that says, hey, you can have a maximum number of cards like Onion does. But being able to spend 2 in combo 3 to deal 5 to something isn't bad. Alright, next up we have Scavenge. So it's a 2-cost spell. You can select a puppetry card in your cemetery and add it to your hand, and then you put a puppet token into your EX area. Alright, so now we have a spell card that gets our puppetry cards back from the cemetery, and then on top of that we can put a puppet token into our EX area, unlike other cards where we do get a follower and then we have to wait for last words to get a puppetry card back. Alright, and then we have Shamu and Shama as the UR/SP/ultimate for Forestraft. And this card does look pretty nice. I do like the designs where they actually have like the background and you can see everything. Like that, I think that's some real good artistic design there. But if you're going to be running this for the Hunter and Beast deck, I hope you're able to acquire this card from pulling, you know, your cases or whatnot, whatever you're going to be acquiring. Or if you just want to have one of it for your collection, I hope you're able to obtain it. And alrighty, soldiers, that is it for the Forestraft set 11 reveals. Like I said, I know that the set comes out today. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get this video out yesterday. We were recording the podcast and I was scrambling to do a whole bunch of live stuff. I was very busy. But I'm still going to make sure I release these reveals out just so everybody's able to see these cards, just in case you aren't picking up these cards and know what to expect for Forestraft. So I hope you all are going to enjoy set 11 to your max capacity this Friday. Alright, soldiers, that is it for this video. Make sure you are safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I love all of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do. What I got to do.